So, testing, testing. I think I love the ambience. So I can start. Yeah. Oh my. When we were fixing our eyelashes, my eye wanted to come. And I don't know if it's the fault of the marine spirits or maybe some of my bad friends that does not like me are the reason. Yeah, very quickly. The afternoon. Uh, I did a recording in August, I think on the first week of August, documenting the good men, a roll call of good men in my career journey. Sadly, I haven't had the time to sit down, and I needed to finish that this afternoon. I Sometimes in 2016, a friend came visiting, a very popular youth leader in the country, very powerful, highly accomplished, very well known. And I told her, and she said, "Oh, she's been very quiet and this and that." And out of our conversation, and I discovered, I said, "Say, when we lead people, we shouldn't just show them the good side of our lives alone. Sometimes we just have to let people know when we'll fail, let them know what led to our failure, let them just share stories, and when we succeed, and people help us in the process." Okay, I mean, like we shouldn't be feeling like alpha female or alpha male. We need to understand that we are human, and you know, nobody has everything. So if people help us along the journey of our career, we should let the young people that we lead know. And if we fail, let them know. If we, if people help us, let them know. It's not just, oh, she actually said, don't talk about the negative. And I said, no. We're actually talking about government issues. She was very popular to us with Asuro, state governor. She likes the paparazzi more than I do. I'm the quiet one. So, and except I mentioned a lot of people in those listen. I can't remember, but I had to document this, and I needed to, do this for some reasons. There is a man that is presently deceased. It's late, and while thinking about my life journey, I remember him. I remember his support for me and also our company during our contract process. Then a lot of work goes on even we are in the absence of the then DG, that I never had to go queue in the DG's office for anything, not even for once. Actually, when we signed that contract, I tried calling the man to say, "Hey, Daddy, we won," and he said, "Oh, he's late already." I was like, "What?" Succeeded, and like he was gone. I cried that day because this was a gentleman, an elderly man, of course. I remember then I used to speak a lot of grammar, and when they said they needed help with the NSDP, and I said, "No, a lot of people have tried helping you the last 19 years, blah, blah, blah." And the Oga, actually, one of the Oga there was an executive director, said, "Too much English. You did it. I don't know. People have always been abusing me for years that I speak too much grammar." So he said my grammar was too much and dragged me to Dr. Presi Jumbo on the ninth floor. I said, "This lady can help us with this problem." And while I was arguing, said I should go and bring my proposal, and I said no. And I kept arguing this, and they said, "See, the DG then had gone to Greece, they had done this, they had done that." This was at the point where they discovered it was a scam, and that sincerely he wanted to do this. So he was a technical advisor or something. So that was how it got started. Then his little support for me then as a 20-something-year-old in the midst of 99% men meant a lot to me. He never asked me for a dime. He never asked me for a relationship. Never bullied me for once, but always smiling and always willing to lend a helping hand. I remember when I get to the reception and I needed to go to the ninth floor, I just call him on the phone and he will call the reception bed. Come. Like I said, I never had to go to that DJ's office at Kemi more than once that I went with late along Sapita along, and it wasn't even about contracts. I'm not even sure we started contracts then, and all through the process, the system was running. This man, like I said, in a system where there are a lot of men, where there are a lot of bottlenecks, where there are a lot of hiccups, it's easy access to his office, easy access to his phone, as in access to him on the phone and all that. Actually, in 2021, I saw his son, and it was all joy. You say you have to be good to people. I never knew he was going to live so early, But today, wherever I see the sun or wherever he sees me, is usually joy. I have shared the story thus far because of media people who were paid during my challenge to write rubbish about me, and all that I didn't sign a contract, and those who ganged up against me afterwards in support of patriarchy. I needed to let them know that I invested 87 months of my life in a process. 87 months, and nobody dashed me anything. I know my helpers, and they don't make noise. I remember when we secured the first set of 150 placements, because we actually started working while the students were in their second year or third year. So we had worked to the point where they would just be coming out of school and seamlessly going on board vessels. Then suddenly we had a challenge with the person in charge of the list who was not releasing the list, and we went to meet Dr. Jumbo. No, we had to go to meet the director. No response. We went to meet the ED, and then he says, what am I going to do? They don't report to me. So I had to, thankfully, for my access to Dr. Jumbo, and I went to Daddy. I'm seeing a challenge between the director, the AD, the assistant director, the ED, and the director. Like, this is it. I said, sit down. And he called then Mrs. Irene McFoy on the phone. And so what's happening to XYZ? And then the woman responded that, Oga said I should not drop it. And they said, okay, bring it to me. And he said, yes, sir. And he collected that list. On that list, there were 318 people. He collected that list in less than 10 minutes. And she said, okay, you can leave. Of course, it's not my document, but she collected it. I don't have to say much about the woman and all that. This is a woman that, like me, who was the only one on the project, was always blocking the way, always locking the door, until Greg Ogbe for intervention, who called her and apparently used her to get all the information that he needed. He actually boasted, she was broke, she asking for money, 50,000 she gave her, and all that. That's by the side we get to that. This man took this document and said, I can go. There's a lot that I could talk about, but the fast forward of it was that on September 1, 2020, the sitting DG, who actually inherited that problem and thankfully had known me on the job even before he became Director General, called me and restored my work back to me. Said, go and do XYZ and bring it, and I'll sign for you. But I decided to say thank you, and I left it on the table. I didn't bother. I called abroad. I did miss something. Thankfully, Corona had happened, global lockdown, vaccination issues. There were a lot of stress across different countries, and just like, it's not worth it, and I just left it. So all those things, like I said, I'm thankful to Dr. Percy Jumbo for his support during this time. His support wasn't financial, it wasn't anything, but that aspect that you could call him and he would call reception. He had issues around an office, and you say, Ronke, come. XYZ, what's happening, another. It meant a lot to me as a 20-something-year-old with little experience on how to navigate a complex system like that. I'm so grateful to him, even in his days. Again, there's a friend that I mentioned in the first recording, Mr. John Jenkins. I need to mention him again because in 2012, 2013, it took me out of danger to a safe place, and I needed to register this. I needed to document this because, again, I wouldn't have been alive by now if not for that man. There was a day I left my home as usual. I went to work, and I decided to fast. I don't know. Nothing happened to me. I wasn't praying for anything. I just decided to fast. All through the whole day, I didn't eat. Even in the night, I didn't break the fast. I suddenly decided to leave the office and to go and sleep at University of Lagos guest house. Sometimes I do that, particularly when I'm late outside from work meetings. I decided not to, then I left again. By 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. thereabouts, I was just praying in tongues. I was on the wheels. I remember I was around Abuleg, but I didn't know what was happening. I was just praying. Then I decided to I got to a bank area, and I decided to park my car and go home. I think I was using an Ultima, then go home with a bike or problems. I was just doing anyhow. I didn't know what was happening. Then after driving, rambling everywhere, all alone in my car, nothing was happening. I was just blasting it off. Something just said, go home. I'm like, okay. As soon as I turned into my estate, there is a major estate gate, and there is another second way through Obasanjo. As soon as I turned, and the Spirit said, look at them. I said, who? I suddenly saw 3 men on bike followed me, like they've been waiting. Oh my God, what happened? I started driving like a mad person, running to my gate. I didn't know that some people had been monitoring that when I come back from work, I will park my car at the big gate, get down, open the small gates, go into the compound, open the bigger gate, drive in, lock the big gates, and go in back to the second gate. Now, what happened were about 5-7 flats in that compound. My landlord then was a reverend. He told me, said, my daughter, he calls me my daughter, Reverend Adeyemo. He said, you are the first person that always go out. You are the last person that usually come. It actually doesn't live in that compound, but he lives in that estate. He has another house, he has a school. He said, and you're the only one that doesn't give me problem. You pay your bills on time. So he gave me the key to a small gate that only I could have access. That when I'm going out in the morning, I can go out to that place and lock it outside. And when I'm coming in, I can lock it inside so that I won't have to disturb other neighbors. So that if I'm leaving early, I don't have to leave the gate open. So my usual routine is you open the small gates and you open the first gate. You drive out. Then you come back in, lock the bigger gate, and lock your small gate outside. So when I come back in the night, of course everybody is sleeping, I will open my small gate outside, walk in, open the big gate, drive in, lock the big gate, and again lock my gate. So I think they know my routine. So thankfully on that fateful night, there was a flat where there were a lot of guys. So the guys were still outside, gisting, bantering. So when they saw my car, they stood up to open the gate. Suddenly, the guys on the bike jumped down and pointed guns at them. 2 guys were holding guns. So all the guys ran away. Everybody ran away. I was like, what? So the next thing they said, you're very stubborn, Abby, give us your car key. Give us your car key. I had lost a car earlier then to an accident. It was about 6 months later, I bought another one. So I was like, God, what's all this? Actually, I didn't have anywhere to go. The only thing is to come down and give them the car key. And the Holy Spirit said, don't try it. What do? I said, don't try it, you'll be a dead man. So there was a gun by my right and there was a gun by my left. While the other, I said, look back. So I looked back. The guy on the bike was on alert, waiting for them to take the car, and he led. So the Holy Spirit said, reverse. Although while they were conversing, I picked my phone. Then it was a BlackBerry Touch, and the phone fell out of my hand out of fear. I couldn't even bow down in the car to take it, but my car was locked. So the Holy Spirit looked back. So I looked back and I reversed like a mad person. I wanted to hit the guy on the bike into the gutter, but the way I drove, he fled, and the 2 other ones with guns also fled. Actually, who drove that car that night, I couldn't tell. I just knew that my car jumped or flew or whatever. I left the scene and they ran away. I left the scene and I drove through the main estate gates, and there was a turn in. I turned into that bed and I just switched off my light, ran down from the car and laid low. As at that time, my neighbors had all come out and everybody was calling my phone and I wasn't picking. I was just running. I ran out and what happened? Where are you? I said, I'm safe. Where are you? It was when I was clear about my safety. There was my neighbor. And I said, have they gone? They said they've gone. Then I walked back to where the car was. You know, when they saw me alone. They said, where's the car? I said, the car is in the bush. It's on the other side of the estate. So the next week, I escaped that problem. I went back home that night. I slept in my house. And I said that day, I gave them a very strong warning. I said, I'd lost a car to an accident. I just bought another car. Do they think I have money? I'm just a young girl struggling for my life. If these young people or whosoever they are from this estate area, tell them they are going to come and pick them from their house and shoot them dead if they don't stop stressing my life. I slept in my apartment, but it's dawned on me that I needed to leave that estate. My life wasn't safe. So I think a week or 2, or maybe that week, I went to a meeting with my friend in Victoria Island, and I was very, very unsettled. As a father, as a friend, I think it discovered that something was wrong with me. I was unsettled. I was masking up. He said, Ronke, you're feeling nervous. And he asked what happened. So I told him, and he was like, what? No, your safety first. Your safety first. And I said, yes, I'm actually already shopping for another apartment. He said, before you get another apartment, Ronke, you have to stay safe. And that was how they lifted me out to a safe place, a safe location in Ikoyi area, until I was able to settle for a new apartment in a safer location. It's a man that takes me out so we could gist, so we could get up to speed with what each other person is doing, guide, exchange ideas, contact, etc. Sometimes even when I said, oh, what am I going to buy for you? Be like, Ronke, you know what to do. You can only buy me a Rolls Royce. And I said, okay, and we'll both laugh about it, And I actually prayed that I will be able to buy him a Rolls Royce one day and deliver it to his house in London someday soon. That man lifted me out of that place to a safe location and said, take as many weeks or months as possible that you need to shop for a good location, but never go back to sleeping at your house for one day. Gunman, no way. He did for me what he could have done for his own daughter. I knew Greg Ogbefor, why didn't I call him? I knew he has a residence in Lagos, so why didn't I call him? I'm coming back to all that. Now, something happened one day. A group of expatriates needed to go to club. And that they were talking. There's a place where I sit down, they grill, they drink, they eat, a lot of expatriates from different countries, nationalities, were very all friends. So that night there was an Indian guy that came into the country, and they all went to club. Of course, where I know, nobody comes there, but we hang out together. And the Indian guy was supposed to sleep at the same building. When they came back, I don't know what happened. He came to my room at the penthouse. And nothing. I just felt he was drunk, and I took him back to his room and settled him down and got back to my room and slept. I think the second or the third day I now saw my friend and I was gisting with him that, you guys had a bad time at the club. What happened? Your friend is And when he discovered that the Indian guy came to where I was at the penthouse, he was like, Ronke, since you have been in that building, have I ever been there? Have I ever crossed? No. He said he knows what he's doing. He knows the way to his room. He tried to take advantage of it. I said, no, he never tried that. He just came talking to me when he came back from the club, but I discovered he was drunk, this and that. He said, no. My friend called the Indian guy and caught severe his relationship with him. He told me, say, Ronke, I'm a man. It's my responsibility to protect you like my own daughter. You are in danger. I kept you safe. Now he knows that you are there. You're a woman. He knows I live in my house alone. I buy her. So wahala. I began to beg. He insisted that the Indian guy knew what he was doing. He knew I was alone in that penthouse. He came there to say he couldn't take advantage of me. And that kind of person does not qualify to remain his friend. I was shocked. Mr. Jenkins protected me. I tried to speak for the guy. He said no. This is a man with gray hair, probably in the same age bracket with Greg Ogbefor. I told you guys, I can only sit down and drink 2 cans of Heineken or even more than that, only with Mr. John Jenkins, until recently when I began to hang out with different people. This is another man that has done quite a lot for me. In the first video, you can watch that again. I actually talked about his impact on my career and all that. How he wrote a recommendation letter to me, how he linked me with a German company with over 200 vessels, how he does a lot of things for me. He takes my cars everywhere. He said, Ronke, I can actually mention a lot of expatriates in Lagos that are his friends that are very powerful in the maritime industry, all blight and all that, always opening doors for me, But he did that thing. I had a house. I was followed by gunmen. I was shopping for a house. I had money to pay for another apartment. But he felt, no, you need to stay safe first. Those are friends. Those are people that have impacted my life. What could have happened? And I drove a lot of distance in Lagos looking for accommodation. I had what I needed in mind, then that was in 2013 thereabout. I just needed a place where I could be the only one in the building, and everything that I asked for was actually what I got, But that's not the story. The story is the fact that it kept me safe. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 2 months, maybe 1 month, maybe 3 months, whatever it is. I was very safe in Ikoyi. I didn't pay a dime. In a house, you know what Ikoyi means? Everything called opulence was in the house. He never, for one day, for a minute, for a second, tried to take advantage of me or even come near where I was sleeping. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that kind gesture. Another of my friend who have impacted me, a lot of you know him around me, maybe few people, he's introduced me to Nigerian bureaus in the days of power reforms, Olam, we work together, DEG, KFW, Shoreline, AHK, Yosunsin, TG High Group, Comat, etc. This is what he does very well. He would carry all his contact cards when he comes into the country, and he would drop it and say, take anyone that you need. Africa Verein, I made them to him, Dando in London, Hauga, Austrian Embassy. He actually brought Agreco into Nigeria about a decade ago, and they are still standing very strongly until now. Development Africa will say, oh, Ronke, there is a couple that has done quite a lot of work in development, this and that, they have a building in Aleki, I wanted to be there. Many meetings, he will just call me to be there. When he's coming into the country, he'll just call all this itinerary, this is my itinerary, any meeting that we are having together with other people, I have to impute, I'm like his PA, look at it, no, but, and some he would just intentionally did not go, say, Ronke, you handle that and all that, He does that for me. He would pack all his card and just put the contact card, particularly when he says that it's a free day for me. He's going out, I'm not going out. He just say, pick anyone that you want, take anyone that is. Count through hundreds and hundreds of international contacts he gives me. When he has some mails and all that, he'll just copy me in the mail and say, this guy, you can talk to him, this is what he does, Both German companies, and we both have a mutual connection with Siemens, of course, differently and sometimes connectedly. 2 months after I came back from the course in 2019, actually, he came into Nigeria. He had an assignment. He had lived in Nigeria before, but he now had an assignment to come revive a company. And of course, we need our services. At our first meeting, I told him I wasn't going to be able to do his job because I just had the court case and that. I actually knew all my journey with him. In 2015, even when I was going to see some people in prisons, he was always scared for me. Ronke, there's not the people that took your project. What are you doing there? And I'm like, no, don't worry, I understand my country. So anything maritime, you always ask me questions. So I told him I couldn't handle his work for obvious reasons, and he felt what's the meaning of that? You're not a criminal. The issue has nothing to do with business. In fact, he was actually very sorry. Because a day before my altercation with Greg at Rental, he was actually the one that I had a meeting with. He was in the country with Anchor. Their companies are not a MD, son of the owner of the company, the chairman, and some other Nigerian German Chamber of Commerce people were at Lagos Motorboats Club, drank, ate, and did a lot, and hung out. In fact, I was still having a hangout the next day when I told Prince to them, I'm not going to come out. And the master people were calling me at a hotel. They were having another award with CILT and MPA, and I felt, I already have an appointment at Oriental and all that. So for that reason, I was like, the second day you guys left, this is what happened and all that. So it was like, we couldn't say before he left. So he was so shocked that this happened to me. So he said, the issue has nothing to do with business. He'd have told me how I bought you a computer on my way from Germany, because I told him they took my computer. So it was like, no, that's not a big deal. Work will continue on one hand while you continue clearing your name on another hand. I'm even interested in seeing how this will end. I have an interest. I was like, oh my God. So I had health issues I was battling. I had police people that was pursuing for my computer, and I had to manage the impact of the negative media stuff and all that. But it felt rubbish. Continue with your work. After 2 to 3 meetings, about 30 million naira was on the table. Job was on the table. From a few hours, 6 million naira done job from consulting hours, and the rest is history. The Nigerian chairman insisted there can be no smoke without fire, because during the panic attack, I sent out a broadcast to people that my life is in danger. I've been kidnapped by the police and not allowed to communicate and all that and all that. So the chairman got that a Yoruba man, a Nigerian, he never did anything. So he showed my friend and said, see. And my friend felt, no, I know her when I was in Nigeria. She's not a criminal. I know she has problem in that industry. They're always stressing her life. So no problem. I'm going to be working with her, but we are going to see how this is going to end. My friend insisted that there is no problem. He's going to work with me. He's worked with me when he was in Nigeria. He knows me and all that. 100-year-old German companies taking their integrity for you. Christian Hanker was also a part of the company, came into the country and felt no problem. I did your work. After 100 years, company ownership and structure had to change. Assets divested, level investment to be ploughed into the company in millions of dollars. And guess what? The Nigerian chairman had an interest. Myself and my friend had worked on German platforms where I know there were billions of dollars in funding accessible to German businesses at single digits and other. I'm part of many of those meetings. So I know if he's on a job, he knows he needs me. And if I'm on a job, I know his capacity. So let me not talk about the details. But this is a friend that even though he's paying me for my consulting, has Wherever he lodges is where I lodge. In fact, there was a day we couldn't get 2 rooms at a particular hotel. He left to GRA to sleep in his friend's house and left the room for me. We've shared the room together on several occasions, across different places. Yet he is not my boyfriend. Never saw my nakedness, never took advantage of me, never. If he hits A and the hotel, that's what I will hit. If he hits B and evidence, everything is always in my hand. His wife knows me. At least this is a friendship that has spanned about 9 years. No stories. It's been, even the phone in my hand, like 150,000 then or so, I needed to buy. And he said, no, he has one. They just gave him at the office. He didn't need it. He'll give me. And he just gave me. Then they took my computer. I said, what's all that? Don't worry. I would have stopped at. I would have bought one from Hamburg. But even if you had told me I stopped by Dubai, I would have bought one. Don't worry. I had already packed from Nigeria even before the issue, so I didn't even have a car left. And he said, no, please gives me a driver and a car. And he would take another car that he pays 20,000 every day when he's in the country to take him everywhere he wants to go. So if he spends, I said no. So I had to buy a car and put it down and say, anytime you're in the country, you can always use this. Friendship that benefits both parties. So many things that I can't talk about. But he's been a very good friend for about a decade. Whatever challenges he's going through, he tells me. Work, personal, same thing with me. I've never had any regrets knowing him. He's an old man with grey hair. I've made too many expatriates, friends through him. And even Nigeria, he introduces me freely everywhere. If I do not have character, how do you stake multi-billion contacts and relationships? No matter where, whether it's Atlantic, whether it's Abuja, whether anywhere, Ronke represents me. He used to work for a guy, Kola Karim, one of the billionaires in Nigeria. When he's supposed to say, Ronke, take my car to go. When you see that, he will try and find a way to, he puts himself behind and pushes you forward. You need the access, like he's tired of all the access and the contacts, and he just gives it to me. If you know Agreco in Billingsway in Ikeja, he brought that company to Nigeria, the largest generator company in the world. When during the power reforms, their company was the first to say that they were going to fund 20 engineers on their own account, give them accommodation. They had flats on their facilities in Shagam and Lafarge, and say no. Ronke gave us 20, we're going to pay for the training in millions with Siemens, get the international certification and all that, and took me actually to Nigerian bureaus, and Nigerian bureaus then they were Dutch, and they said they had the value chain covered. He would introduce me anywhere, and I'm so confident. Wherever he's working, today, he will call me. Ronke, what do you think? I need you on board. I'm so grateful for that relationship, for the friendship, for the access. The stories. Another person that I mentioned also, and I need to mention again, is Dr. David Oyedepo, or Bishop Oyedepo again, and the sacrificial leadership. So, Bishop Oyedepo and the sacrificial leadership. There was a day actually, I can't remember, the last time I lived in Queenaland, Covenant University was in 2007. I moved out of that environment in 2007. I was living in Professor's Quarters, House 6, while the Vice Chancellor then was living in House 4. So we had a lot of young youth development program all those years. Those were the people who developed us from our age 18 upwards. So I remember one of those nights there was a youth program, and we finished about 11 or maybe 10, 11 or so, and we're going home, and I wrongly followed Daddy. Daddy was a pastor, was an associate pastor to him, and I followed Daddy in the car. Daddy Akonde. That was actually the pastor that I saw in Grego Befun's presentation where they were launching MV Osayame, that made me to walk up to him thinking he was a mentor, not knowing he was an old rapist. So we're in the car, Daddy. So Bishop Oyedepo was driving. If you know Bishop Oyedepo very well, he drives himself a lot on that ground. So he was driving to his house in Kenaland, and he saw a lot of people sleeping on the field, and Bishop refused to go to his house, and he drove back and drove to Covenant University. So as he was going, Daddy was laughing and said, "Hey, Papa, that he will never cross There is a way you can drive and just cross CBS to chapel. Papa will go and drive, even though he's the owner of the whole land and all that. He will drive. He leads by example. He will not say, Shebi, it's 1 a.m., nobody sees me. So when he drove and went to the back of Covenant University Chapel, Daddy followed him. So guess what? He called the vice chancellor. He called the dean student affairs, then Pastor Rotimi. And he said, you see all those kids on the field, none of them should sleep outside. What's happening to all the hostels in the Covenant University hostels? Are there anybody there? The students are on holiday. So nobody should be on the field. And everybody said yes, sir. When Papa gave that instruction, he was supposed to go and sleep. Bishop Oyedepo did not leave. His phone was in his car and it was ringing. He did not pick. He didn't pick. While Daddy was with his phone and his wife was calling, Mommy Akode was calling, and he said, is that Titi? He said, yes, sir. He said, give me the phone. And he collected the phone and he said, Titi, we are still working. I have told you to sacrifice your husband to the Lord. Go and sleep. He will soon be home. Thank you. Good night. And I was in the car, I was laughing. I couldn't come down and start trekking home. Chapel wasn't far from Professor Scott, but I just got my bomb inside the car then. But the thing is, Bishop Oyedepo gave this instruction and never left until the last person left the field into a proper accommodation in the hostel. And he said, good night. This started around 11. I think he finished around 1 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever. Until the vice chancellor and the dean of student affairs finished, Bishop Oyedepo didn't leave. Oh my God. That was where I learned sacrificial leadership. He has a mansion. He could go. What's his business? He had impacted them. Sometimes he would travel. He would come. As he's coming, he's not going to his house. He's not. The politicians are waiting to do, but a lot of people. He won't go and attend to them. He will come and attend to young people. And after that, then what is the next assignment? Attend to the other assignment. I said, wow. Proximity to his leadership style really taught me a lot. And that's why maritime leaders should embrace the sale. That's why it's very difficult for some of you to sell crap leadership to some of us, and we buy it. We are not used to it. We lived in the midst of people who achieved a lot of big things out of nothing. A lot of people who raised our standard even as a young person. If you are talking to an 18-year-old from Kenaland environment, it's talking like a 30-year-old. If they walk into your office, this one is a Covenant University product. I had graduated from college before they built Covenant University. Actually, I finished in 2002, and I think that was the year they founded the university. But I even had a scholarship to go to the school, and I passed all the exams and all that. For some reasons, I ended up back at University of Lagos. But we grew up in that environment, morning, afternoon, and night, where we were cooked with prayers, with vision, with all sorts. So, I'm not religious. I only believe in doing the right thing, just like my friends, my expatriate friends. They say, Ronke, we don't believe in God. We believe in doing the right thing. It's all about humanity for them. And in my own opinion, President Buhari has offered sacrificial leadership to northern youths by positioning them in thousands and in hundreds across government agencies and parastatals. So who will help the rest that their fathers and their mothers don't have political power? That is why some of us are doing what we are doing through our maritime conversion program. They do not have, there are some people who do not have access, and they are Nigerians. Nobody's going to recommend them to NEMASA, to MPA, to DPR, to NMPC, and all that, to EFCC jobs. This is why when the elders fail to lead, we step up to fill the gap. What many of them are pursuing is actually personal survival, while I pursue generational impact. So our value system and our mentality differs, and so will our future and the fruits of our old age beyond media packaging. So if you're trying to block me, you're actually not blocking me, you are blocking your future. Some people said, where is so person's marine engineer son? I said, go and ask him. When I was building my life, running after my vision and purpose, he was hooked to drugs and confined to a rehab. Because the father is busy looking at how to destroy other people's children's destiny. How can his own destiny, the destiny of his own child, be protected? Some of the values that I learned it from Bishop Oyedepo, not by him teaching me. I don't care what you teach in church, it's crap. I look at what you do with your life. In the night, in the day, I'm observing you. I learn by example. My father taught me by example. Not by sitting me down. He never caned me for once. He never taught me anything like that, apart from books. But I learned from his lifestyle. So sacrificial leadership, that's where I learned it from. So when I'm tired, when I'm weary, when government people shut the door at me, when big men think it's all about their pennies and all that. It's about to bully me, how to press me down, and I keep pressing forward. It's not about you. I give back my energy, my time, my resources in navigating systems, engaging diplomatic moves across board. I do advocacy without noise on behalf of the next generation. Even though I don't protest, you will never see me there. Yet I engage power brokers, and that's why I'm still here. So if you try to kill me, God will kill your children when you least expect. If you try to hinder my growth, God will dethrone you and organize wicked problems around you too, in your own path in return. So I know they shout. Nigeria is a wicked country full of wicked people, and that's why everybody's mad. That's why our light must shine amidst all the gross darkness. I have to put it on record. Mr. Boydekbo impacted my life, not by giving me money. He preaches prosperity, but not prosperity without work. He says, "Seest thou a man that is diligent in his business, he will stand before kings and not before men." I'm grateful for his impact in my life. I am grateful. He's still working for me. When they say it's all over, Christian man going diabolical against me, Christian man who raped and lied against me, kidnapped me and did all sorts, and some idiots who are supposed to actually do better decided that, they want to follow in his footsteps by pressing down my head. The God that gives them vision make sure that, no, that girl, no, she's not going to, no, you're not going to do that. And it keeps me afloat. And I'm grateful for all their impact, no matter how little. I'm deeply grateful. Number 5 on that list is Alex Vegas. A lot of people know him as my long-time boyfriend, but he's a very good and kind man. A very, very good, kind-hearted soul forever. Alex is a kind soul, and he will tell you men and women are equal. What's all that bullshit? It's time for Nigeria to grow up. He doesn't believe a woman shouldn't speak. In fact, if you are in a place and you are not picking the microphone to talk, you are not inspiring him. Like, talk. Take the microphone and talk. Because actually, as a 2-year-old Dutch child, you are to be part of family conversations. If you know the Dutchies very well, and the Germans, they are very direct. The Germans are even still okay. Dutch, they are very direct. They don't coin their words. They're like, and a Dutch child is trained to be part of family conversations from age 2, and their opinions matter. They are trained to be independent-minded. There comes a time at their teenage age where they take them to the kind of bush for some exercises where they leave them to find their way alone and all that. It's a national culture. Try and read all about it. It's taught me a lot. So it doesn't say all this African culture of women shouldn't talk, a child shouldn't talk, and in fact, a child is even trained about sex right from the home. Father and mother talk about sex openly and all that. So even when I'm trying to be humble, it's like, what was all that rubbish? I'm not your senior. I'm not superior to you in any way. Men and women are equal. So when Greg was bullying me, said you huge guy from Port Harcourt, what's all that rubbish? So it's like, it doesn't just give a damn about Nigeria, But like I said, he's a kind-hearted soul. Never judged me for anything. Everything was very supportive all through the years. Introduced me to WAP, West Africa Power Pool, also in the days of power reforms he was still in the country. And their company actually then only offers services to multinationals operating offshore, and no business with any Nigerian company then. Even up until now, he still doesn't know how to relate with Nigerians. Our first meeting actually had a flat tire just off a hotel. I was about 2-3 minutes late, and they said, not very typical of a Nigerian. I said, no, I'm not a Nigerian. I keep to time. Because our first event where I invited him to, have known him since 2011 until I started dating in 2012, they got the 8 a.m. on the dot. Walked in, actually, I didn't know that their residence in Victoria Island was close to the venue they were using, so they walked in, 2 guys, and they were there before everybody else. Like I said, their company only offers business services to companies operating, multinationals operating offshore, and say, hey, Nigerian companies can't afford us, we don't have any business with them. The highest paid expatriates in the world then were on their facility at Ogeri and Impara. On that facility, they had over 200 rooms, they had over 236 cameras, they had about $180 million control room. No matter where you are coming from, they have seen you even before you get in there. And if you don't have recommendation from multinational, they are not going to entertain you. I think my whole recommendation came from Chevron then or so, as I had access, and they have the helipad, they have their own, everything, their own. they will tell you that they don't want to be kidnapped. So no Nigerian in any critical decision-making cadre. So you can't fuck up their operations. And I was so sad then and decided to do something about the situation then, because local content was a thing when we came into the industry, in 2010, 2011. And, I decided to do something about the situation. But Nigeria will always disgrace you no matter how hard you try. And the only Nigerian company that they could work with then was Lado. There was a year where their facility was full and overbooked till another year. I think he said their facility then was booked to 2013 or 2014. I can't remember the year. And I said they don't want to be kidnapped, so they couldn't put their expatriates in the facility where they didn't choose. And I kept marketing that. I said, okay, I know you have contacts there. Can you link me? So I called Chief, and Chief said, oh, talk to Jide and all that. And he went. They went actually, I think himself and Tim and all that. I can't remember if they ever used the place, because I also went to see a lot of facilities. They're like, nobody can be kidnapped here. Expatriates uses this place and all that, because they build their home things for themselves, and they don't leave anything to Nigerians rubbish. So he had this trip to East Timor one time to connect us to the government of that country on maritime issues. I think East Timor and Dili. And he said, you see, trust capital is not cheap, and we don't trade it for anything on both sides. His word is his bond. No games, no gimmicks. Yes, he doesn't believe in God, but trustworthy unto that. Give Alex a document. What he says is what he says. Tell him to do what he says. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. That's what he's going to do. And if he's not going to do something, he's going to tell him, I'm not going to do it. There's nothing he can do. His word is his bond. I remember when I gave him an assignment and I was handling the Nigerian part, and the Nigerian part was sketching, and as he said, you don't see it as a trust issue. I had to explain and explain. I said, it wasn't my fault though. It's Nigeria's madness. So, he doesn't joke with trust issues, and he actually was a chief commercial director on the international operations that got us a Holland company with 1,130 vessels in their fleet. It's a fleet management company. 1,130 vessels. Those were the things we brought to the table for Nigeria, because our time of reference was to integrate 1,200 cadets into jobs globally. That's why we went very far after very big companies, and we won before the thieves came to steal what they didn't work for. And at the end of the day, want to blackmail you that you're actually the one who came for their pennies. I do not see where his 70-year-old will be so proud of talking everywhere that he slept with me because I'm his girlfriend, when he actually stole with records on the table and kidnapped me, telling me he was still afraid. At the court, it was the judge that was telling him, look at you, look at that. I have read everything. Nobody can confuse me. You are the one that should be helping her. The country can't continue like this. And they told us to go and settle out of course outside. And they asked me to apologize to him, retract, and just settle. And they said, shebi one no more Yoruba, shebi you are Yoruba girl, and they forced me to kneel down because there was an elderly woman there that said it doesn't take anything away from you. And they put that in the media. And even in 2021 September, people are still telling me this is what Greg is saying her around about you. And I'm like, have you not even thought about the fact that what is it that will be pushing a 70-year-old to be talking about who he slept with if he's not really trying hard to cover something? That is not the focus of my talk today. But when you talk about work, particularly a work that is stole, and at the end of the day they could even still place only 59 cadets of NSDP vessels on their this thing, even as an association. What I signed was for 1,200 cadets, 200 per year for 6 years. And if anybody says I lied. The second person that I signed with, whose company also went through that, is Global Spectrum, which is owned by Honorable Chibudom Hiwuchi. When he called me from Abuja, he called me by himself, that they said there is a woman on that project, he would like to know the person. And he flew down to Lagos. We met at his Lekki residence twice. And this MD, Comdol, is expatriate MD, is my friend. We met at the Master Rally. He's been part of my events and all that. So, let's leave the work issue and let me finish my roll call of good men, because there are people who have impacted me, people who have brought value to the table, who have brought substance to the table. I have to mention their name. I have to document this history. So anybody that needs this, you always go to the internet to go and look at what happened. Commonwealth can go there. IMO can go there. All the industry people that say, maybe they say you are the one that chased Greg's wife away from the house. All these men are men with pennies. They know me. I know them. I know some of their wives. I know all of them. I know their family. Anka was asking me recently, are you coming to Germany? I said, not yet. And we are all still working together, you know. Another person that I would really like to talk about is Mrs. Obiageli Ezekwesili, Dr. Mrs. Obiageli Ezekwesili. Recently, she became a fellow, one of the 6 fellows at Yale University. She joined Don Cabral and some other platforms internationally where she's been winning recently. Former Vice President at World Bank, former Minister for Education. I actually knew her since when she was Minister for Education, and she knows me in person. Anywhere, Abuja, anywhere I say Ronke, I know her, she's a maritime. She was actually the person I went after. I said, Mommy, I need that Kuku's contact and all that. This is my situation. He said, okay, send me documents, send me an email, and this and that. And she did that and connected me to him. That was how I got to know Francis, the security assistant to Dr. Dakopisela, because Dr. Dakopisela responded to the mail and said he was willing to meet with me and all that. I should have stayed on that network and just pushed to the end. It was tiredness, fatigue that made me to say, oh, Greg should just handle the since from Rivers. I never knew that was going to be the biggest mistake of my career. But Mommy Obiageli has been a very, very supportive woman. I remember one year like that, she sat me down at the hotel and gave me all her documents as the Minister for Education, and sat me down and told me all that she did, how the private sector, including Shell and all that, got involved, what went wrong and all that, because I'm into capacity building, so that our generation could leapfrog from where she stopped. Another day, she asked me about this maritime conversion program and said, okay, can I talk to Dangote Foundation? And in 2-3 days, linked me with the MD of Dangote Foundation. And before I knew it, I was called. I was already in their office for a meeting. And in 4 days, the proposal got to Aliko Dangote himself, and he told us what he wanted and what he didn't want. Mommy Obiageli, when Greg kidnapped me, was the one I called and said, Mommy, my life is in danger, and instantly sprang into action. She was the one who did not allow their evil plots scale through. I thank God for the day that woman was born. I really, really, really thank God for the day she was born. She helped without looking back, without asking for anything, and I still do not know how to pay her back for all that she's always doing at every point in time. If those ones call themselves mentors, you could practically see what they have done. Is it in Yaboye Gina or Flutter Wave and all that she has impacted? Or Toyosi Akirele, or Chude Gideon Bohane, Debola Williams, or even Shewonigbede of Budget and all that. Those were my cliques, that this woman has added value to her career, her companies, her personal lives, one way or the other. And I keep telling her, Mommy, I was the only unfortunate person who came into maritime in the midst of very wicked men, bullies, rapists, thieves, oppressors, if not for God. Yes, there are good men, but one evil by one evil person has overshadowed all the glory that we brought to the maritime kingdom, because he just couldn't stand seeing my glory shine. He's gone diabolical, he's lied, he's bullied, he's done all sorts, and his fellow gangsters have believed him. Because I am the woman, I'm the one that should die. But this is a woman that has stood out, even across board. Yes, she's been victimized, she's been through so many things. Yes, I don't agree with all her style. She's very, very vocal and all very, very fiery. I don't really support some of those things, because I don't do. I look at, but the thing is, Mommy has impacted my life in no small measure. She knows that I'm in the maritime industry. She's been very, very supportive of my career at different stages of my life, and for that impact and sacrifices, honestly, I'm saying a public thank you, Mama. She connected me with the then MD fund at the Dangote Foundation and so many others. Very proactive, a very good listener. Sometimes I struggle to understand how she copes. Like, Mommy doesn't forget anything. Whether you meet her on the road, whether you meet her at the airport, whether you just whisper to her in the mail, whether it's a mail, she has an electric brain. She doesn't forget anything, and she's never proud. She's never arrogant. If she's walking and 10 people talk to her and she needed to take 5 action points, she's going to get on the plane and get to the house and take those 5 action points. That's who she is. Very detailed, very oriented, very pragmatic. I'm grateful for women like that. And another of my hugger, my sister, my friend, Dr. Mrs. Hogo, herself and Mommy actually sprang into action to save my life. As if they always scare me. Like she was a PhD student at University College. I don't know, she should have finished by now. I've not been able to pay her a visit for years. And despite that, she heard I was in trouble and she took it up. Her father is a popular chief, Adewolu, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, personal friend of Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and a godfather to every sitting governor in Ogun State, including Senator Bukunle Amosu. Whom Baba called during my police issue with Greg. Her mother is actually a former chief judge of Ogun State, and my brother also a very senior person in one of the federal government agencies. Mrs. Ogo introduced me to AFDB, African Development Bank, actually in 2012, and she spoke for free at all our campus programs in the days of our little beginnings, from stadium to University of Lagos to everywhere. Even if she's coming back from London, she's on the move. She does like Monyogo. As you're talking to her, she's listening. She doesn't even have a letter. She's grabbing the day. She's grabbing the time. Blah blah blah. She's coming back from the airport. She's running to your events and all that. Even as an undergraduate, when I was registering my company, she was part of our directors and all that. She's been there from where we were nobodies. She's been there, and I'm not the only one. She's developed a lot of people. Toyin someone that she picked from school as a graduating student. So many destinies that she's impacted. Ran the Lagos Ignite project with Governor Fashola for years. Ran something with MTN Foundation. A lot. All the evidences are there. Just Google her, read up, steers her CV. Like, I'm scared. I'm like, how were you able to do this? But she married a very good husband, Don, very supportive of her career and all that. So these are my role models even before I came into the maritime industry, who has my track record in their hand even as a young girl, with my jeans then always jumping all around, bringing HR personalities, professionals, employers of labor into campuses even before we graduated. Like I said, very swift, very powerful, very pragmatic. Had a lot of contact. She was one of the three. Very playful, very godly, very humble, very kind, and so much more. She was one of the 3 Fortune global women who met with Barack Obama then when he was president of the United States of America. She was actually mentored by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and Dr. Obisi Kwesile at the World Bank. She led the biggest youth initiatives on the Ejidesi platform, working with MTN Foundation, Governor Fashola Administration, like I said, Danjuma Foundation, and all that. Like I said, I see this very scary, actually, and I've known her since 2008. A very devoted woman to both God and humanity at all times, highly sacrificial. Like I said, married with 4 wonderful kids and a super duper husband. I'm so grateful for all your investment into my life in case you end up watching this, and also the lives of other young people who are now mothers and fathers of their own. The fruits are all there today. We've also extended the ladder to elders, and we are happy to be able to do this. Then she can be wrong, Bishop's visited, or by law of Bishop, we post tapes to her, and know that she is a godly woman. Again, when I had this issue, I don't know, I was able to get across to her herself and Mommy who basically, because the police were actually meant to kill me. Kidnapped me, they didn't allow me to make contact, they didn't allow me to call my lawyer, they didn't allow me to eat, and they said, we just want to teach you a lesson. So as soon as I got a phone given to me by my IPO, it's like, you can't just be taken away like that. They should let you go home and prepare yourself, because they actually didn't let me prepare. They didn't serve me court papers, they just forced me to sign everything at gunpoint. They know that if I go home, I'm going to come prepared with my evidences and all that. But at the end of the day, when I saw what they were doing, I didn't let anybody go and bring the evidence, because they would have killed the person and destroyed all the evidences. So the essence of keeping me under lock was to make sure that I couldn't prove my own case. So the person who wrote the petition was the only one who was talking, and he was all about protecting himself. It's not new. We've seen Senator Elisha Habo who slapped somebody at the tech shop openly and nothing happened. We've seen the pastor, what's his name, Biodun Fatoyinbo, who got away with whatever it was. We've seen the only one that is lucky amongst us was the lady who did a recording on the lecturer by herself and all that. What's her name? I know. So we don't look like what we've been through, but this is the situation. So I'm really, really grateful. There is also Ralph Wessels. He's a Dutch. He was a finance director at Shell, and we wrote a proposal to Shell in 2012, and the management got excited, and Shell had tried doing such a similar program in Brunei. So seeing some in Nigeria, they were so happy that he called for a meeting by himself and expressing his joy in working with us. Wherever you are, Mr. Raf Wesels, I want to say thank you. Again, it was a Nigerian that came up and said, what is this? Whatever it is, they try to do their rubbish. Nigerians as usual. Today, I think they're all struggling for survival. A white man doesn't need to know you anywhere. And I remember after my meeting with him that day, Amy Jadesmi was the next person to meet with him. Said, you know her? I said, yes, she's one of the daughter of one of the people in my industry and all that. Simple-hearted woman, finance director, Shell PLC. Shell. It is well. Again, let me not fail to mention the impact of Hausa people in my life who have helped me a lot. And they are too numerous to mention. I've mentioned MNI, Dr. Aminu Guso. I've mentioned quite a few names, and I'm in here today called Sehoff and Hausa. And they say, you're an incredible person, we should push somebody like you into politics. Well, I did not help you in your industry, he had to actually introduce us to a personal friend of the President Buhari. And I honestly did not take that for granted. I met the present INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakub, in his house, in that person's house. Same thing with Mrs. Benusola Saraki and many more. But let me talk less about politics. I just want to say thank you to all the good men and women on my career path, and to the evil ones who ganged up against me on my money, on my issues, on my other issues, on my proposal, to the thieves who held on to what belongs to me, to the bullies who want to show me because they are in support of patriarchy. I know you. I see you, I saw them. I'm following all their plots and wicked play, and I am laughing in Greek and Mandarin because they will do themselves and crash their own lives by their own selves, not with my own help. They will do themselves, like the enemy of Jehoshaphat, who laid ambushment against themselves and began to kill themselves. My enemies will kill themselves. All my years of fruitless labor through learning, hand-holding, mentorship, guidance, capacity building, etc., because that is what my own elders gave me. And there is a fierce urgency of now, which is going to be the focus of my next video. So this is my life. I live it for humanity. Why does somebody want to kill me or destroy me by all means? I remember Engineer Omar Suleiman, former MD at MPA, suddenly called us and reached out to us a few years back, offering his support for our maritime conversion program, even without knowing me in person. He only sees my charts, those things with young people, conversation. And when we get the next thing up in the public space, still on the same program, which has been held down somewhere by over the last 1 year, we're trying to push it out. I'm sure I will recurse back to him for updates, but I'm so grateful for his kind gesture. There are people that have tried to work with us who never asked to sleep with us, who never raped. There are people who have slept with in the same hotel for 19 days, 15 days, 10 days, working together around the clock, attending meetings, driving in the same car, doing all sorts. One idiot came to me recently, about a year ago, December, January. I actually met him on the desk of someone who's also another friend in the industry. And he came and he said nothing goes for nothing, because he wanted to take me to the sitting DG, and I laughed. DG that I know by myself. Engineer Israel, I should also mention you that you're a kind person. You would come take me out in the days of my challenges. You will sit me down. You will talk to me. You took me through. You had a daughter that is an associate professor in an American university. So you know the impact of having an educated daughter whose life is not all about pennies and all the nonsense that Nigerian men show about. So you could handle me. I've hung out with you till about 10 p.m. Even on the day that rain was falling. I will eat, I will drink. You will put your hand in your pocket and say, do you have money? You will give me. You will talk and converse about different issues. You never has to sleep with me. And I'm still surprised that I see someone say Nigeria. If you don't really be people, you really want to know who they really are. So, my life revolves around me. Like I said, it was only 3 unfortunate women. I've mentioned their names, and I didn't really bother. But it's important for me to document my life journey. That the only set of people that want to blackmail you with penis issues are these riffraffs who are actually nobodies. Because I'm an adult, like I said. Do you think at my age I will sleep with a man and I'll be ashamed of saying I had sex with someone or I had a relationship? When even the kids that I've trained over the last 10 years are now fathers of 2 and 3. So what is in the sex that somebody wants to shame you about? If you open your pants as a man to sleep with a woman, why are you ashamed? So if it's a normal relationship, why do you want to blackmail a woman? Not talk of when somebody rapes. Like I said, I'm not an idiot. I believe in quiet dignity. Quiet dignity, which is a hallmark or sign of maturity. So people have actually come, even during my challenging period, and like counting pennies. Like nothing goes for nothing before they can take me to a DG. Nothing goes for nothing because I see this is, and I'm like, oh my God. So you are so poor. So you allow them play. You allow them talk rubbish. They say you are the one that sent Greg's wife away from the house. They said you are dating Greg. They said this and that. Greg is sleeping with me for long short. So person is sleeping with Greg. All rubbish talk. That is why they could not develop the shipping association that they put in their custody, because they are focusing on rubbish and they think everybody is like them simply because you are a woman. Look at the people that I've mentioned. Look at the roll call of men and women. I can't exhaust it. I know too many people, but I have to mention this. When Dr. Aminu Gusau introduced us to Engineer Usman Abaka, Engineer Usman Abaka put us on a 9.6 billion job and paired me with an Hausa man. And I told him, I screamed, I said, how did we get there? I said, I recommended you on the table. I said, I know a credible consultant that can do this for us. And he just adopted us immediately. I was scared, and I told our friend, see, this thing that they gave to us is not our rest. We have not qualified for it. We are too far from it. What happened? And I said, I just told him, I said, go and prostrate for the MD, because the MD of that second organization was actually supposed to be the one saddled with this assignment. But there was too much politics, and if you know Engineer Usman Abubakar, he negotiated all this railway contract that you people are talking about, the first funding. Most of the first initiative after Jonathan administration, he was in charge. He was in charge personally until his sudden death. I was in his house on the day he entered coma. He was going with INEC chairman. He recommended Professor Mahmoud Yakub for that position. Professor Yakub was going like this with him, and me and the son were at the back. He gave us 500,000 that day to go and give to his sister. Had a chip when they called us that he has entered coma. Abagume the speak, and we had to come back. I went to buy the food that we gave him and the fruit and all that to stabilize him. I said, allow him sleep for 2-3 hours and don't stress him. And I left back to my own hotel. I met another very powerful industry person from our industry there. And there's nothing, Ronke, your maritime people, they are here and all that. He reports directly to the president. He's one of his 10 closest persons and a personal friend to Chief Abakari and the CG concerns and all that. Those were the places we entered without parents. These were fathers. I've been in his house like 2-3 times. President Buhari will call him, and President Buhari calls in, and he goes into his room and calls his son. He may not come out for 2-3 hours, and those 2-3 hours, our bomb is going to go on the chair. And he will ask me personally, what can we do for her? What can we do for her? He puts me on a 9.6 billion job without knowing me, without asking for my resume, and that just because of the credibility of the man that put us there, who also had about 25-year experience in an American university. I'm like, we should push somebody like you into BSO, Buhari Support Organization. Always looking out for my good. Like I said, they picked his phone, call our former Minister for Transport, call XYZ, call ABC. I said, who do you want? And I said, don't worry. When they give us such work, we couldn't find people to call. Maybe at the beginning, I could have even come to custom office to say, can you supply limestone for Chinese and all that? We actually went to the office of those Chinese people at Jabi, who also asked, what can we do for her? So people like me are not looking for pennies. I'm looking for a man that can add value to what I have built by myself. Imagine a Kamala Harris going to, look at who her husband is. A husband must be somebody that adds value to your destiny. Not any riffraff who sees sex as a casual biological reaction and could naked himself in the office with the niece of his own friend and could sleep with office assistants, front desk executive, and anybody. And people want to use that level to judge me. Finally, let me just round this up there or here. On June 3rd, 2020, I was in the office of Alhaji Monai Kabiru Wakelin Kastina, who's been my friend also for over a decade, who could also attest to the fact that he's never seen me anywhere anyhow. And we're talking about something else, and Frederick Ugo of Nimasa walked in. And I said he wanted to see me. And I said, what? And he dragged me to his office, and I said, I should look at this. Who is this? I saw Greg on the phone. He said, he wants to talk to me about Greg. He said, I accused him of rape. I said, please. And I said, but we all know him. That is his way. But why did you talk? Frederick Ugo, who knows my journey on that contract process, even then, who said that this thing will not fly because there's no Godfather on it. He knows me very well. And when he made that statement, he said, we all know him, that is his way, but why did you talk? Even the daughter, that one came. He was a cadet on his facility, on his stars, whatever, before he became a staff of nurse. So they know him very well. And I said, but you also have a daughter. When somebody raped your daughter, tell her, why did she talk? Get the fuck out. And I took an extra mask from his office that day and I just left. June saw 2020. I said, I'm not even here for you. I came to see your DJ. Just forget about that idiot talk. So they all know him. That is his way. But why did I talk? And on that day alone, 5 people spoke to me about one same person, including a very respectable woman. I had to leave the building and went to my car to just sit down to wait for when they would call me for the office where I went to. So this is not a person that is fighting me, that people do not know his antecedents. His friend Prince Olayiwola to say, he's the only one that changes woman every time. For the 25 years they've known him. His friend Dr. Osho says he's becoming a curse. Everybody knows him with the 2 things that I accused him of. Even the project that he stole, what did he do? What is his track record at Haisa Naisa? What is his track record at Swan? What is his track record at Chamber of Shipping and everywhere where he has served? What is his track record even at Limericks, on the day where his wife was in a room, girlfriend was in another room, and was still sleeping around with all the small girls? I still have the pictures. So for all those people who are talking rubbish, please, this is 2021 ending. If you want to be like him, please be like him with your chest. If you want to be different, please be different. As long as you are not tagging him or stigmatizing him and his work based on that issue, why do that to me as a woman? If you have a child and you are sensible, would you treat your child the way you've been treating me? Would you sit down on the work of your own child and not allow them progress? Would you sit on their document? Would you block the way against them? Would you tell them nothing goes for nothing? Would you talk rubbish? Please, if you can't do that to your own child, don't bring the madness near me. You have seen the roll call of men. They have pennies, they have age, they have money, they have power, they have nothing. None of it did they used to bother me. It's all about value versus value, impact versus impact. Respect for human dignity, respect for me, and respect for them, vice versa. And that is what I want everybody to focus on moving forward. Nobody should talk to me about bullshit, about anything from the past. I'm a happy woman. They should find their own happiness and stop talking rubbish up and down about me. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And to the good men, I say thank you. For my head boss, they'll put their hand in their pockets and give me money and they encourage me and all that. I appreciate all your efforts. You know I can't mention your names. You know those of you that I can't mention your names. There's a director at Nimasa. When I call him Adi, she say, I'm coming. I said, don't come, send somebody. Say, how can I send somebody? So, I'm coming by myself. 35-year experience, got on the car and came. One of my Egbon came and brought money. So many supports that I've had even after that. I'm grateful to all of you and I do not take it for granted at all. I appreciate you. Like I said, I won't be able to mention everybody, but you know yourself. Be good and remain good. God bless you.